Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the silent, cloistered, and brutally uncomfortable world of a medieval monastery. Spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this. Not because of battles or dragons or any Hollywood fantasy stuff, just a soul-scraping routine. The kind that starts before sunrise, ends after sunset, and makes every day feel like the same forever. Before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your city and what time it is in the comments. I want to know who's still awake and why. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. Let's ease into this journey together. You arrive at the gate just before Lauds, the dawn prayer service. The bell echoes through the valley, cold and sharp like a warning. It's your first day, and you're not ready. The brothers barely glance at you as the heavy wooden door creaks open. The porter, an old man with eyebrows like mossy caterpillars, motions you inside without a word. You're in now. You belong to the monastery. Forget your name. You're not Robert or Henry or Elias anymore. You're Brother Nobody. The air smells of wet limestone, beeswax, and boiled barley. It's dim, even though it's morning. The monastery is all cold stone, stained beams, and corridors built to make you feel small. You clutch your simple satchel. One rough tunic, a wooden comb, and the tiniest psalter known to man. That's your whole life now. There are no mirrors. You'll never see yourself again. Vanity is a sin. So are comfort, freedom, and apparently socks, because your new sandals don't come with those. As the monks file in for prayer, you copy them, lowering your head and folding your hands. They don't smile. Monks aren't a smiley bunch. They didn't come here to make friends. They came to fight the devil through routine, deprivation, and a liturgical schedule that could make an office worker cry. Welcome to the divine office. Matins at midnight, you missed that one. Lauds at dawn, then prime, terce, sext, nun, vespers, and compline. 7 prayer services daily, plus the night office if they're feeling extra devout. Each is chanted in Latin, involving standing, bowing, kneeling, and trying not to fall asleep. You'll get used to being hungry and tired, but never master not fidgeting during a 90-minute psalm marathon. You're shown to the communal dormitory, a long, narrow hall with dozens of plank beds topped with straw mattresses. Some monasteries don't even let you lie flat. You sleep sitting up like a sad bat. Forget blankets. You get one robe, maybe a second in winter. It's scratchy, smells of mildew, and weighs as much as a toddler. You ask Brother Ambrose how long the initiation period is. He shrugs, a year or two, or until you stop asking questions. You try asking if you can write home. He gives you a look that makes you regret it. The world is out there, he says, gesturing toward the walls. You're in here now. The worst part is the bells. Every few hours, their dull clang yanks you from sleep, work, or any fleeting peace. No clocks. The bell is your timekeeper. It dictates when to eat or fast, pray, work, confess, or beg forgiveness for accidentally making eye contact with a widow from the village 300 feet away. Historically, monasteries were spiritual engines for medieval Europe, preserving knowledge, cultivating land, and housing educated men. But they were also designed to grind down human will. The rule of Saint Benedict, the monastic manual, demanded absolute obedience and humility. Monks were like soldiers, wielding scripture and conscience instead of swords. Some monasteries had conversi, lay brothers who did manual labor while choir monks prayed. Sounds nice, right? Wrong. Lay brothers worked longer, ate worse, and weren't allowed in the main chapel, spiritual second-class citizens. They could talk more, though, so maybe not all bad. Historians debate how grim monastic life was. Some argue monks found joy in gardening, studying, or brewing beer, and that monasteries were refuges from medieval violence. Others say joy was rare, drowned in cold discipline and harsh winters. You're not thinking about that now. Your feet are cold, the stone floor unforgiving, and the next prayer starts in 30 minutes. Your knees already hate you. You glimpse the abbot, tall, imposing, with eyes like candle flames. His habit is spotless, his steps deliberate. He doesn't speak to you. You're too new. You'll earn your place, But no one's clapping when you finally chant Psalm 118 without passing out. As sunlight filters through stained glass, turning the walls into flickering gold and shadow, you realize you're in this completely. If you're lucky, maybe next week you'll copy one line of scripture without getting your hands smacked for smudging the ink. Until then, the bell tolls. You stand, bow, and follow. The brutal rhythm has begun. It's your first week, and you've sworn 3 vows you didn't fully understand: poverty, chastity, and obedience. They sound noble, even romantic, until you live them. The monks don't sugarcoat it. During initiation in the bare chapter house, surrounded by cold stone benches and judging eyes, you recited each vow aloud, each more irreversible than the last. No music, no applause, just a silent nod from the abbot, like you'd signed away your soul. Poverty is simple. You own nothing. Not the robe, not the bread you ate, not the itchy blanket smelling of old sheep. You're a vessel, emptied of worldly desire. You'll be reminded every time you see a second spoon or a monk with winter boots. Chastity is brutal. No touching, no lingering looks, no impure thoughts. You're young, healthy, and stuck with repressed men pretending they don't have bodies. The tension clings like soot. A senior monk whispers, if temptation rises, recite psalms until it passes. Great advice, unless temptation strikes, during psalms, which it does, often. Obedience is the worst. Poverty and chastity let you suffer quietly. Obedience breaks you. You follow orders instantly, no questions, even if they make no sense. Hesitate, and it's pride. Ask why, and it's rebellion. Do something well, and seem pleased. Vanity, also pride. Existing with confidence is wrong. Monks aren't saints. They're people who tried so hard not to sin they invented new suffering. Brother Martin mutters, never stand with hands on hips. It shows pride. Then, don't sing too loud at Vespers. It makes others jealous. You want to laugh, but don't. This isn't about holiness. It's about erasing yourself so God can move in. Historically, these vows freed monks from worldly distractions, wealth, lust, ego, to focus on God. In theory, you're more spiritual. In practice, it's a quiet prison where everyone's trying to out-humble each other. Yet there are strange moments. Sitting in the chapel, sunlight through stained glass, the monk's chant surrounds you like warm mist. Latin syllables stretch over low tones, vibrating in your chest. For a moment, you feel something beyond language. Then a monk coughs, and the spell breaks. In the kitchen, you're ordered to peel turnips, the joyless root vegetable. A monk hums, his nails crusted with dirt. When did you last speak to your family? You whisper. He shrugs. 20 years ago, maybe 30. He picks up another turnip like it owes him money. Obedience means humiliating tasks for spiritual refinement. Scrubbing latrines with holy water, carrying night soil to compost pits, shoveling dung while reciting psalms. Older monks say it teaches humility. You think they just like bossing you around. Scholars debate if vows were strictly enforced. Some say monks broke them, sneaking food, hoarding coins, or meeting villagers at midnight. Others argue most were sincere, treating vows as lifelong spiritual training. The truth is probably in the middle. You hear whispers that not all monks chose this life. Some were second sons dumped by noble families, others sent as punishment or to hide inconvenient relatives. You wonder how many dream of markets, music, women, and how many truly chose this. An older brother says, the hardest thing isn't poverty or chastity, it's that you're no longer your own. He's right. The monastery owns your time, labor, voice, soul. You go, we're told, eat what's given, pray when the bell rings, and die when God or dysentery decides. At night, on your narrow bed, you stare at wooden beams. No candlelight, too expensive. No warmth but your breath. A rat skitters. You grip your bread crust tighter, then feel guilty for hoarding. Tomorrow, you'll confess selfishness and sweep again. The bell tolls. You shuffle into the cold. This is your life. No riches, no romance, no reward, just rules, silence, and the slow erasure of self. Sleep in a monastery is more a suggestion than a rite. Forget curling up with a wool blanket and a flickering candle. You sleep like a prisoner on a straw mat that pokes through your robe, smelling of damp cellar. You don't even get a full night's sleep. After Compline, the final prayer in near silence, you filed down the cloister walk. No talking, no sighing, just the great silence until morning prayers. You can't whisper to Brother Martin about your weird dream unless you want latrine duty. In the dormitory, monks sleep in one long hall. No curtains, no privacy, just inches of air and judgment between beds. You lie down, the stones chill, seeping into your bones. The room smells of sweat, straw, and mildew. Someone's stomach gurgles. Another mutters psalms in his sleep. Just as you drift, the bell tolls for matins, the night office at 2 or 3 a.m. It rings like it's punishing the night. Your body protests with sore joints, but you stumble to the chapel. Candles flicker, your breath visible. The chant winds through the dark, long psalms of vengeance and mercy. Your voice cracks at Psalm 73. No one notices, or everyone does, silently judging. Matins mirrors Christ's vigilance, symbolizing readiness for the second coming, or just breaks your will. Historically, it kept monks in check, costing them sleep. You stumble back to bed, too foggy to dream, too cold to relax. If lucky, you get 2 hours before lauds. If not, the bell rings sooner. Days blur, sleep fractures into naps and half-conscious chanting. You doze during breaks, dream during prayers, and confess it later. The bell becomes scarier than the devil. Some monasteries made monks sleep sitting up, leaning on wooden supports or in choir stalls like hunched owls. Lying down was indulgent, too close to death or pleasure. Historians debate how strict this was. Some say monks had rotating schedules for more sleep. Others say Benedictines saw sleep as idleness, the soul's enemy. After 10 nights, reality unravels. During a cold dawn prayer, staring at candlelight, you wonder if this is hell, not fire, but endless, exhausting repetition. You recall your mother's kitchen, butter on fresh bread, your brother's awful singing, another life entirely. Brother Anselm, bald and pale, hasn't spoken a full sentence in 15 years. He kneels before matins, mumbling prayers, never sleeping since the fever. No one explains. On the 11th night, you're assigned to keep watch alone, ensuring no one sneaks food or reads forbidden texts. In a cloister garden, under a cloud-heavy sky, the wind cuts through. A mouse scurries. You wonder if God watches or sleeps warmly while you count sins in the dark. Another monk relieves you, nodding silently. You return to your mat, every bone aching. The bell will toll before you settle. You don't dream, just blink, and it's morning. The monastery is a machine, and you're a part. After weeks, the rhythm of toil and devotion feels like breathing or limping. The divine office pulls you through. Prime at sunrise, terce mid-morning, sext at noon, none in the afternoon, vespers at sunset. Each prayer is followed by labor, each labor by asking forgiveness for not doing it joyfully enough. You rise, chant, scrub floors, chant again, garden, clean the sheep barn, chant, haul barley mash because it builds character, then chant more. Everything scrubs sin from your soul and your sanity. Most hours are manual labor, gardening, cooking, stable work, or the dreaded latrines. You're in the garden, better than most, with fresh air and occasional radishes. Your hands grow calloused, smelling of onions and manure. It's meditative. Repetitive motions dissolve thoughts into soil. When sunlight and birdsong hit right, you almost forget your exhaustion. Almost. Monasteries seem peaceful from outside, quiet, picturesque. Inside, it's work. The rule of Saint Benedict balanced prayer and labor, but labor wins, keeping monks too tired to argue. Some jobs are coveted, like brewing beer, safer than water and mildly fortifying. A brother calls ale liquid bread with personality. You'd kill for a pint, but you're digging irrigation trenches. Rain doesn't spare you. Your robes sow AKS up water, and you dig in soupy mud. Scholars say monasteries preserved knowledge and offered refuge, but the grind was real. You're a cog in this divine machine, and the bell keeps it turning. In winter, you shovel paths between the chapel and dormitory, reciting psalms through a scarf woven of frost and regret. Windy days are the worst. Cold air slips through every stitch of your robe, your hood flapping like a dying bird while you try not to lose your place in the rosary. Some monks carried a human skull as a memento mori, a daily reminder of death. You saw Brother Sylvanus meditating in the cloister garden, fingers stroking one's surface, staring into its eye sockets like he's conversing with eternity. Monks quietly debate what's holier, prayer or labor. Some say silence in the chapel brings you closer to God. Others claim he's in the compost heap. You think he's wherever people aren't arguing about manure techniques. Your least favorite task is refectory cleaning. After meals, you, the newest monk, clear dishes, scrub tables, and sweep crumbs that technically shouldn't exist. Meals are silent, with one monk reading scripture aloud while others stare into their gruel, chewing like guilt machines. Today you got in trouble, not for laziness or stealing food, but for working too quickly. The abbot says speed breeds impatience, a seed of pride. Now you're kneeling in mud, washing garden tools with cold water, treating iron spades like sacred relics. Your knees throb for hours. Some monks cheat. Brother Odric hides under the stairs during sext, napping in his robe while pretending to pray. No one calls him out. Maybe everyone's done it. Brother Chase in the infirmary seems peaceful, even happy, tending the sick and mixing herbs. I don't ask why. I just do, he says. You're not sure if that's wisdom or surrender. Exhaustion seeps into your soul. No weekends, no sick days unless you're vomiting blood, and even then, you'll get a mop. You scrape mud from your robe, knowing tomorrow will mirror today, a wheel of toil, prayer, labor, prayer, sleep, repeat. The abbot watches from the cloister walk like a crow in human form. Yet, as the sun sets, casting golden light across the fields, the garden rows look perfect, chants drift through the arches, and your cracked hands smell faintly of mint. For a moment, you think, maybe this is enough. Food here is a grim parody of sustenance. Expecting hearty stews or crusty bread. Think again. Eating is functional, solemn, and meatless per the rule of Saint Benedict. No beef, lamb, or pork unless you're ill, and even then, it's boiled gristle. You get legumes, vegetables, and sometimes dried fish that smells like salted regret. Your first meal post-vows is watery cabbage soup, a brick-like chunk of bread, and cheese with the warmth of gravel. In the refectory, a long hall of quiet doom. Monks eat facing one direction, back straight, eyes forward. It's a ritual, not a meal, starting with a bell, prayer, and scripture chanted in Latin about divine judgment. No speaking, not even to pass the salt, which doesn't exist. Hand gestures and eye twitches substitute, but they're confusing. Once you signaled for broth and were accused of gluttony, earning hallway scrubbing duty with ashes. Meals last 20 minutes, leaving you hungrier. Some monks stretch it out, cutting bread into tiny bites or sipping soup like nectar. Others stare, try to recall what taste was. Monastic diets varied by region and wealth. Richer houses had dried fruits or better bread, while poorer ones survived on porridge and turnips. Strict Cistercians fasted to an art form, living on water and guilt. Today's Friday, so it's fish again, hard, gray cod that turns to salty paste in your mouth. A monk across the table arranges fish bones like an art installation. Some monasteries used almond milk during fasts. You tasted it once and nearly cried from its suspicious goodness, earning a week of water duty to curb joy. Fasts dominate. Advent, Lent, Wednesdays, Fridays, Ember Days, Rogation Days, and obscure saints' feasts mean bread-only diets. You once survived 3 days on pea soup and holy water. Brother Ambrose tried eating a beeswax candle. No one judged. It smelled like honey. Historians debate fasting enforcement. Some say monks cheated, exploiting loopholes like classifying beavers as fish because they lived in water. Your monastery follows the rules with zeal. The abbot once scolded a monk for licking a spoon too thoroughly, calling it sensual indulgence. During harvest, meals improve. Fresh vegetables, less stale bread, even an apple. Biting a pear, you cried from its sweetness, confessed attachment to pleasure, and weeded the cloister lawn as penance. It was worth it. Feast days bring eggs or spiced lentils, but also extra prayers and sermons like theological hostage situations. You dream of winking roasted chickens and glowing cheese wheels, waking to bite your robe. Eventually, hunger dulls to a hum. Your stomach shrinks, your taste buds find sweetness in lentils, and you stop wanting more, not from holiness but exhaustion. The scriptorium sounds noble, but is a freezing chamber where monks go blind under weak candlelight, hunched over desks with cramped fingers. As the newest copyist, your first A feels like a sentence to medieval carpal tunnel. Brother Leontius, the master, hand you a worn quill and cracked inkwell, pointing to vellum, calfskin. Make no errors, he says. God and I are watching. The air smells of dust, ink, and desperate sweat. Narrow windows let in barely any light. You get one candle. If it sputters out, pray for a breeze. You copy the Gospel of Luke in Latin, hoping repetition reveals meaning. Your handwriting looks like a crow danced in ink. 6 lines in, Leontius tears your sheet, snorting, "Are you writing or performing an exorcism?" You start over, each vellum sheet precious, representing hours of labor and one less calf. Hours vanish as you form identical letters. Another monk drops his quill, muttering Latin curses. The scriptorium preserved ancient knowledge, religious texts, classical works, medical treatises, but it doesn't feel heroic with your wrist cramping. Brother Theodoric whispers that some monks hid complaints in margins. So cold I can't feel my fingers, or oh, for a pint of ale. You try it, scribbling "I miss cheese" in a salter's corner, then pray for forgiveness. The silence is oppressive, just cool scratches and wheezes. Once, a monk fainted from holding his breath during a tricky initial, collapsing into his work. Historians debate copyist accuracy. Some say monks were reverent, others note errors and censorship. You're part of this chain, mistakes included. Illumination, decorating manuscripts with gold and patterns, is for steadier hands. Brother Armand paints a capital Q with gold leaf and squirrel hair brushes, too sacred for you. Over time, your writing improves, Latin flows, and you anticipate letter curves. It's meditative. You become ink and purpose, a vessel for ancient words. Binding a text, you sew pages with sheepgut twine and glue hide over the cover. The crooked, stained result feels heavy with effort. In the library, among shelves of handmade volumes, you see the monastery's true treasure, knowledge preserved by men who've forgotten the outside world. Leaving the scriptorium, inky and sore, the bell feels like an invitation, not an interruption. Silence is law. Speech is a spiritual hazard. The tongue leads to sin, idle chatter to pride, jokes to temptation, gossip to hell. The great silence lasts from nightfall to morning, longer than you thought you could go without complaining. On your second day, you said good morning to Brother Hugh and got a turnip slicing frown. Silence is sacred, he warned. Words are for prayer, confession, obedience. You gesture instead, using a system like medieval charades with spiritual stakes. Bread? A slicing motion. Latrine? Point left, right, make a distressed face. Signaling noise is prideful, so you breathe and offer it to God. Each monastery has its own signs. You once asked for wax instead of cheese, earning a heresy-level glare from Brother Barnabas. Meals are strictest. No clinks, no coughs, no words. Drop a spoon, and you pray someone slides it back. A sneeze once made the table stare like you'd invited the devil. In the chapter house, you confess faults in Latin. I didn't bow properly at none, or I envied Brother Thomas's chanting. It's less healing, more a reminder you're broken, held together by guilt and mercy. The rule of St. Benedict says excessive speech invites sin. Silence is a weapon against chaos, forcing introspection. In practice, it means awkward hallway collisions. Guest masters, who speak to travelers, are the lucky ones, hearing outside stories. You considered praying for that role, but recalled your poor eye contact. Silence amplifies your inner voice. Thoughts argue, rehearse old conversations, confess buried desires. Sometimes, your mind whispers truths you're not ready to face, turning silence haunted. Months in, you miss messy laughter, storytelling, joyful singing. Yet silence shapes you. You notice morning mist, wax pooling at vespers, Brother Felix's trembling hands. You learn silence's grammar, posture, steps, glances. Scholars say some monks bent rules, whispering or passing notes. But here, silence is stone-heavy, reshaping you into something attentive, if not holy. Some monasteries enforce silence with punishing zeal, believing even a human voice could offend divine order. The Carthusians took it further, living in total silence, their lives one unending vow of quiet. You shudder thinking about it. Yet, there are breaks in the stillness. On feast days, singing is allowed, even brief, hushed conversations in the cloister garden. These moments feel warm, human. Once, during harvest, Brother Martin muttered a joke about a pair resembling the abbot. You nearly dropped your rake laughing. That fleeting rebellion felt holier than a week of perfect chanting. The silence becomes part of you, carried in your body, your breath, shaping your thoughts into quieter forms. It erases you, but also lets you hear something deeper. During Compline, as candles flicker low and chants rise like smoke, you kneel, not singing, just listening. The silence wraps you, not as punishment, but as a cloak of peace. For the first time in months, you don't miss your voice. It starts small, a sideways glance during sext, an elbow jostle in the scriptorium, too aggressive to be accidental. You ignore it. You're here for humility, not drama. But when Brother Ardo accidentally dumps water on your robe during dish duty, you realize monks aren't saints. They're men, with jealousy, pride, and pettiness amplified by silence, discipline, and isolation. The monastery is a pressure cooker. No gossip, no private venting, no walks to cool off. Everything simmers until it doesn't. During laundry duty, Ardo flicks water in your face. You glare. He raises a smug eyebrow. Silence prevents words. That night, your candle goes missing, then reappears, slumped and used. You know who did it. Confrontation isn't allowed. Everyone's wrapped in the same vows, pretending to be above pettiness. Brother Hugo, a novice 3-month senior, warns that sabotage is common. Soak prayer books, ink swapped for lamp oil. Don't rise to it, he says, but you dream of revenge. When Ardo leaves his sandals outside the dormitory, you nudge them under the staircase, forcing him to crawl. It's petty, juvenile, and feels incredible. There's a fringe tradition of penitential pranking, hiding food, moving bookmarks, swapping psalters, to test patience and humility. It's spiritual hazing, unwritten, a way to entertain without breaking rules. A robe tied in knots, a quill replaced with a twig, library scrolls rearranged. No one's caught, but knowing glances pass at confession. Scholars debate monastic conflict. Some say monks were more peaceful than lay people. Others argue the conditions bred rivalry. Jealousy over roles, resentment over duties. During Lent, tempers fray. Brother Piers and Brother Cedric shove each other over parsley in the herb garden. Piers pulled it too early. Cedric dumped water on his feet. They work side by side, turning compost, their smiles thin. Brother Ja, the infirmarian, gets subtle perks, clean boots, a softer mattress, better candles. Some say he's earned it. Others whisper of favoritism. Bitterness grows, unfit for a house of prayer. One day, your name's missing from the work roster. Brother Ambrose offers no explanation. You sit in the cloister garden, pretending to read psalms, wondering what you did wrong. Later, someone swaps your stew's herbs for bitter leaves. You eat it, chewing slowly, feeling like a desert hermit. Yet there's solidarity too. When your candle rolls into the dark, Brother Thomas nudges his flame your way. Another time, dozing during vigils, you wake to find a vellum scrap in your sleeve. You are not alone. No name, no recognizable script. The monastery doesn't erase weakness. It compresses it into strange shapes, cruel and kind. You untangle knotted robes, bite your tongue at jostles, and when Ardo smirks across the cloister, you incline your head. Not today, brother. Midnight. You wake sweating, not from heat. Your cell is freezing, but from a dream of fire, shadows, and a woman you can't recall. Guilt hits instantly. Even dreams are sins here. You shuffle out of bed, silent in the dormitory's rustling straw. Your candle tempts you, but it's rationed, and you're not scheduled for prayer. Dreams, even uninvited, are stains on the soul. No privacy exists, not even in your mind. Morning brings no relief. Lauds throbs in your temples, a hum of existence. You feel watched, not just by God, but by the abbot, the brothers, yourself. At weekly confession in the chapter house, monks kneel, heads bowed, airing sins publicly. Brother Alaric confesses inattentiveness during Psalm 62. Another admits desiring to speak. You sweat. Should you confess that vague dream? When your turn comes, you mumble in Latin about an impure thought during sleep. The abbot squints, but says nothing. You kneel, hoping no one saw your twitching jaw. Confession was constant. Forgetting scripture, wandering eyes, the urge to scream during garden duty. All confessed. You're expected to report others' faults too, creating performative humility. Brother Jocelyn confesses minor slights, never big ones. Brother Cedric, who slapped a stable hand, admits to overwatering basil. The abbot doesn't confess publicly. The line between sin and thought blurs. Was that lust or memory? Pride or awareness? The rule says desiring sin is sin. How do you stop wanting? Some monks practice self-flagellation during Lent, whipping to express repentance. Brother Gildas's welts look raw. He calls the body a stubborn beast. Holiness or trauma? You confess, judging him. Dreams worsen. You pray psalms before bed, begging for dreamless sleep. Sometimes it works. Other times you wake with clenched fists and shame. Punishments are the same. Guilt, penance, silence. Scholars debate how much monks police thoughts. Some say they feared their imaginations. Others suggest leniency on inner worlds. Here, nothing stays private. You chant louder, fast harder, volunteer for latrine duty or furnace ash hauling, hoping exhaustion quiets your mind. Sometimes it does. Sometimes hallucinations grow vivid. Brother Thomas dreams of fire, calling it hell with a flickering smile. You don't share your dreams. You suspect heresy before the word is spoken. Brother Aldrich asked a question in theological study, requested a forbidden book, skipped Compline to stare at stars. Monasteries demand strict obedience. Truth is handed down, not sought. Aldrich doubted, questioning Latin prayers, silence, thought sins. Brother Thomas whispers to the infirmarian that Aldrich said grace was already ours. A match to burn the chapel, the infirmarian replies. The abbot's sermon on spiritual deviation, false lights, hidden pride, targets Aldrich without naming him. Don't think too much, it warns. You nod, understanding. Questioning isolates, infects. You reread Psalms suspiciously, wonder about forbidden books. The rules call to prefer nothing to the love of Christ. Erases curiosity, selfhood. Heresy records are thin. Some monks were excommunicated, others erased through damnatio memoriae, historical deletion. Missing scrolls and torn pages in the archive suggest Aldrich's erasure. You pray harder, copy psalms perfectly, driven by fear dressed as faith. You watch the abbot's gaze, nod when expected, bow deeper. But doubt takes root, small and silent, as you catch Brother Felix whispering to the fire during Vespers, lips moving with something other than prayer. You find a scrap of parchment tucked behind a psalter. What if the darkness is not a test, but a teacher? You don't show it to anyone. You burn it, watching the flame catch, yet the words linger like a second heart. Heresy isn't always defying doctrine. Sometimes it's asking the wrong question at the wrong time, wondering if God loves you before you've earned it, or dreaming of freedom without calling it sin. You don't know what happened to Aldrich, sent to another monastery, locked away, or worse. His name is gone from the register, his psalter redistributed, his bed reassigned, his candle snuffed. But he left something in you, a hesitation before you bow, a closer ear to the chants, wondering if they're truth or echo. That night, after Compline, you light a candle, not for a saint or Aldrich, whose fate you shouldn't mourn, but for the question that still burns. Power wears a robe like yours. You rise in the ranks not by ambition, but obedience, neat copying, and avoiding public questions about sin. Brother Martin calls you disciplined. The abbot nods more than once weekly. Suddenly, you're on supervisory duties, noticed by others sweeping the cloister. You didn't climb. It happened while you avoided falling. Elevation brings a new burden. You see the monastery's gears and who turns them. The abbot's cell is larger, with a thick door and a stained glass St. Peter. His robe is darker, his voice lower. He absorbs obedience without asking. Abbots are elected, but it's no democracy. Whispered praise and virtues recited at meals nudge approval. The system favors the quiet and clever, who speak just enough Latin to sound wise. Subpriors, cellarer, guest master, each hold a sliver of power. The cellarer controls wine and salt. The guest master speaks to outsiders. The librarian guards forbidden books. When a novice bows to you, pride sparks. You bury it in psalms. Assigning Brother Felix to garden duty feels too satisfying. A scriptorium, key tingles in your hand. Power here is quiet, enshrined in routine. The abbot never raises his voice. His decisions ripple, and you haul stone at sunrise, calling it divine will. You see abuse when Brother Adalbert, an older monk, is reassigned from library to compost pit for correcting the abbot's Latin. Subtle games emerge. Extra cheese for Brother Thomas. A candle left on Brother Jaw's bench. Reassignments serving hidden agendas. Historically, monasteries mirrored the world they rejected. Politics flourished. Ambition simmered. A 12th century abbot bought a vineyard with monastery funds. Another hoarded manuscripts. One retired ill after fathering child. Your abbot isn't cruel, but careful, rewarding loyalty, ignoring questions. Grace is a ladder, and he's at the top. You believed vows equalize souls, but they give human nature new names. Pride as zeal, favoritism as discernment, fear as discipline. At a disciplinary council, a novice caught reading a restricted commentary trembles. The abbot assigns him a month of silent ditch digging, saying, "Presumption is a weed in fertile minds." You flinch, but stay silent. Later, he tells you, a monk must learn boundaries. You nod, return to the scriptorium, and craft a perfect gold-leaf cue, your silence joining the machinery. You trade your voice for safety, forgetting when you last objected. Some scholars argue an abbot's judgments, as Christ's representative, are absorbed into the divine plan. Others call this ecclesiastical tyranny. You don't know what to believe, but you stand straighter at the abbot's footsteps, say yes before he finishes, and avoid Brother Adalbert's eyes in the garden. It's obedience worn smooth by time. You barely notice the nuns, rumors, sermon lines, linen-wrapped shadows beyond a hedge. Their priory, small and silent, clings to a hill. Passing monthly to deliver letters or wax, you look straight ahead. Then, in the herb garden, you hear singing, soft, unshaped by male discipline. You freeze, it stops. You're not supposed to notice, but you do, replaying it all day. At chapter, the abbot warns of temptation slipping through ears, eyes, memory. Your cheeks burn. Did someone see you pause? Nuns are forbidden fruit, your counterparts, cautionary tales. You read of Eve, Delilah, but not Hildegard's music or Anchoress's hearing God. They're nearby, but distant as the sea. A nun falls ill. You volunteer to deliver herbs, appearing obedient. At their gate, an older, veiled nun takes the bundle without looking. You nod. She nods. As the door shuts, she whispers, "Thank you, brother." Her dry, kind voice haunts you for a day. Monasteries struggled with women. Vows demanded distance, but humanity crept in. Some monks had nun sisters, others carried old loves. Scandals, secret meetings, smuggled letters, records. A Yorkshire monk fled after a liaison. Another's visions of Mary were starved hallucinations. Here, women are demons, love irrelevant, dangerous. Brother Felix stares at passing nuns. Brother Ja keeps his sister's cloth. Brother Sylvanus whispers non-saint names in sleep. You dream of faces, voices, a laugh. Someone seeing you is more than your Latin. Wanting warmth is a sin. Copying a scroll. You read Sister Alia's letter about her garden, prayers, and silence feeling like death or music. You copy it reverently, hand trembling, treading a line. Some theologians say men and women complete each other spiritually, a divine tension to acknowledge, not break. Others call a heresy. You never meet Alia, but passing the East Garden, you pause, hearing a breath, a syllable. You whisper a psalm, not a shield, but a reply. Some temptations don't destroy. They remind you you're alive. Rain seeps before dawn, relentless, turning the cloister walk into a river, garden paths to sludge, the cellar to a briny beast swallowing fish barrels. You bail it with a leaky bucket, chanting through mud and lightning. When wind rips dormitory roof tiles, you whisper, "Deliver us from evil," as rain drips into your soup. The abbot, serene, says, "We shall not be moved," even as chapel doors shudder. Outside prayer, things unravel. Brother Leontius curses soaked manuscripts. Brother Sylvanus breaks his ankle. Someone mutters, "Why, God?" during Vespers. A kitchen fire erupts from a spark, blazing orange and black. You drop your lentils and run, joining a bucket line while Brother Elias throws salt like it's a demon. The kitchen's a ruin, barley scorched. You eat raw roots, pretending it's penance. Monasteries were vulnerable. Fires from candles, floods ruining libraries, storms flattening chapels. Famine looms as vegetables thin, orchards fail, bees vanish. The cellar echoes. Meals shrink to one daily, soups to flavored water. You pocket a carrot for Brother Jervis's cough, his nod heavier than blessings. A storm blows the chapel door open during Compline, soaking the floor. Monks chant stubbornly, your voice cracking in the cold. You think of Job, Noah, Aldrich, that nun song. Superstitions swirl, crows in rafters, laughter from wells, signs of sin or divine tests. You don't look into the well at midnight. Scholars debate if disasters were punishment or misfortune. They feel the same when hunger gnaws. You list losses in your head. For Salters, 3 nights' sleep, a friend to fever, half a sandal, a week's rations, and the confidence that prayer fixes everything. You chant, kneel, whisper grace before meager meals. Stopping means facing more weather, hunger, uncertainty outside. When the sun returns, too bright, you hold a sprout in the garden, whispering, "Let it be enough." Your mind betrays you. Its cracks now visible in the monastery's endless grind. Small cracks appear in your mind, forgetting half a psalm, staring at a pew, not during prayers, unable to move. You blame exhaustion, but one morning you wake with tears on your face, no dream to explain the sorrow, clinging like a soaked robe. The monastery doesn't name it depression or anxiety, modern words. Here, a heavy spirit is sin. Dark thoughts are the devil. You're not unwell, you're unfaithful. You pray harder, fast more, scrub latrines as penance. The stone in your chest pulses, slowing your steps along the cloister walk. During matins, Brother Thomas stops chanting, his face blank, light gone from his eyes. He's led away silently. No explanation a chapter. The infirmarian says, sometimes the mind grows weary of discipline. Thomas returns after 2 weeks, slower, eyes down, hands clasped like they might betray him. He says only, "I'm better now." You see it in others. Brother Osric staring at candles, Brother Felix wincing at bells, Brother Jervis laughing, then stifling it. The signs are clear now. Early monastic writers called mental disturbance spiritual warfare, not metaphor, but literal demons of fear and despair. St. Anthony spoke of a spiritual fog, prayers like screams into a pit. Astia, The noonday demon is divine burnout, a soul's paralysis. You read it in dusty texts, undiscussed aloud. You feel it weeping in the garden, reasonless. The monastery offers no rest, only fasting, no conversation, only confession. Sadness is temptation, joy a discipline. You stop asking for help, just survive, walking the cloister at night when silence feels less suffocating. Brother Edric passes, nodding, counting steps like you. 10 to the scriptorium, 12 to the garden. Tiny rituals for order when prayers hollow out. Visions come, not holy but strange. A beetle on the floor seems to carry a message. Your name whispers during terse, though no lips move. You blame cold, hunger, sleeplessness. Then you see Aldrich's shadow behind the chapel door. A trick of light, but enough to send you kneeling, confessing an unnameable sin. Historically, melancholy monks were sometimes revered as spiritually gifted, others shunned or accused of possession. Treatments were prayer, herbs, or isolation. The abbot summons you after missing chapter, his room smelling of wax and lavender. You seem distant, he says. You want to confess the psalms taste like dust. The cross feels empty, but you say, I will pray harder. He nods. That night, a note under your mat reads, there are others. You burn it, but it lingers. You notice the slow chanters, the night walkers, the lost. You're not alone. The monastery demands your body, voice obedience, but your mind slips. You kneel with a hollow heart, whispering verses you don't believe, more honest than pretending they shine. You endure, a quiet miracle. Animals, soulless by doctrine, seem to understand the monastery better. A black cat, thin with amber eyes, appears during Lent, sitting on chapel pews or pacing walls like a guard. Some call it an omen. The abbot ignores it. You leave bread scraps by the fountain, gone by morning. Once, after Compline, something soft brushes your ankle. Rufus, the donkey, chews straw through fire, flood, famine, staring at the abbot unblinkingly, as if he knows secrets. Rats scratch in walls. One darts across the chapel during sext, yet the chant never falters. Brother Jervis says they were here before us. They'll be here after, leaving crumbs like offerings. A tale circulates. During a brutal winter, a fox stole kitchen food. Traps failed, prayers didn't work. One morning, it sat in the chapel, unmoving. The abbot called it creation's messenger, untouchable. It stayed a week, then vanished, rumored to return in snowstorms. Animals don't kneel, fast, or confess impure dreams. They eat, sleep, thrive without guilt, unbound by holiness. You name a scriptorium mouse Abel, leaving crumbs to say, I see you. One night, hooves echo, Rufus stands in the courtyard, facing the chapel under a pale moon. You watch, breathing the same cold air, an owl hooting once. Rufus snorts, returns to the stable. Historically, cats controlled pests but symbolized temptation. Doves were divine messengers. Here, animals are neighbors, free of theology, at peace. You crave their simplicity, not ignorance, but freedom from proving holiness. You pray differently, less for forgiveness, more for thanks. Crumbs, quiet, the cat curling on your cloak during prayers. When she vanishes, leaving a whisker on the chapel bench, you hold it. Soft pale, almost nothing but enough. You didn't choose the monastery. A second son, unneeded. You were sent at 15, your father pressing a coin into the abbot's hand, your mother crying briefly, your brothers look half envy, half relief. The monks gave you a robe, Psalm 23, and a dormitory spot. Obedience came easily when the alternative was confusion. The monastery is a refuge, but also a dumping ground for bastards, orphans, disgraced sons. One monk arrived after a scandal with a lute and mead. Another, a nobleman's illegitimate son, carved lines into his bench until it cracked. Brother Thorne stood at the gate in a storm, saying, if I walk far enough, I stop being someone's burden. Historically, families sent children to monasteries for land deals or to shed inconvenient relatives, blurring devotion and exile. You find it in signed letter in a psalter. Asterisk, I miss the sound of your hands in the flower. I miss being called by my name. Asterisk, you return it, silent, understanding. Dreams of childhood, bread, sunlight, laughter, ache more than nightmares. You wonder what your name sounds like. You imagine leaving, climbing the wall, walking to a village, speaking without vows. It feels possible, scaring you. Brother Amos, toothless, says the longer you stay, the less you remember where you'd go. Spiritual imprisonment. Vows under duress. Rituals that don't speak. Traps some. You pack a bag, bread, parchment, a broken rosary, a bitten coin, hidden under your mattress. You don't plan to leave, just need to know you could. At the garden's edge, you sit against mossy stone, breathing, hearing your name, faintly, like a distant call. A glint behind the chapel lectern. A gold ring, defying vows of poverty. Then a silver cross in the abbot's robe. An ivory comb in the guest master's quarters. An embroidered cushion under Brother Anselm. In the kitchen, Brother Elias keeps the cellarer's wine. Certain monks get warmer loaves, thicker broth. It's a shadow economy. Obey, get rewarded. Question, get scraps. The rule demands poverty, but who decides what counts? A padded chair, a better candle, extra cheese for the sick cellarer, a commentary called Poverty of the Soul Greater Than the Purse, an excuse. Monasteries amassed wealth, land, tithes, relics. Abbots controlled estates, minted coins. One furnished his quarters with silk and marble. Another served venison on gold plates, while monks ate millet. Your monastery's cracked walls hide subtler divides. You tell Brother Jervis, who says, it's not the item, it's the attachment. The abbot's walnut staff, the guest master's honey suggest otherwise. You test boundaries, choosing cold benches, refusing cheese, fasting extra days. Brother Sylvanus warns, holiness draws attention, not always kind. During Compline, a pouch with 3 silver coins appears under your bench. You freeze, the weight of wealth and temptation heavy in your hand. You leave the 3 silver coins in the donation jar, their weight lingering in your palm. The abbot summons you, saying, we must be wise as serpents, gentle as doves. His words a cryptic blend of warning and praise. Afterward, the guest master's eyes follow you. The cellarer's portions shrink, your candle's stub dwindles, and Brother Elias stops humming in your presence. The message is clear. Step carefully. Reformers speak of luxury cloaked in linen, hidden wealth in austere monasteries. You see it now. Wax roses under chapel stairs, dried figs behind the altar, Brother Felix polishing sandals with infirmary oil. None of it's evil, but it's not holy either. You feel like a child catching adults cheating. Then you cheat too, mending your torn robe with finer thread, justifying it as practical. Hypocrisy stings as the needle glides. Not all monks are corrupt. Some live the vow fully, hoarding nothing. But most, like you, want peace with a touch of warmth, obedience with convenience, poverty without deprivation. The greatest luxury is pretending. Pretending you've renounced the world while rearranging it. That obedience equals virtue. In the scriptorium, you write humilitas in the margin, not as prayer, but as a question. The forbidden shelf isn't locked, just a plain cabinet behind Augustine's tattered volume. You find it reorganizing psalters for Brother Leontius, your fingers brushing a soft leather book. No title, just poetry. Aching, intimate Latin. I sought God and found a shadow resembling my face. Your hands shake. You return it but sneak back nightly, copying lines into your robe with charcoal. Doubt is not faith's enemy, but its beginning. Then the book vanishes, replaced by a dull commentary. You search in vain, the words smudging your fingers. Rumors whisper of a censured monk who questioned predestination. His book burned, but possibly hidden. Brother Ja says, books no, but minds yes. Historically, monasteries hoarded knowledge, hiding heretical texts or mystical visions. You find another forbidden book in a commentary's margins, Origen's words on universal restoration, even of the damned. You read by moonlight, spotting forbidden books by their mismatched spines, hesitant scripts. Their confessions in ink. You're not alone. Brother Felix slips behind the psalter shelf one night, his gaze the next day knowing. Some monks say truth comes from the church. Others believe it rises within, through doubt, through gasped lines. You write thoughts on vellum, hiding them under your cot's floorboard. Silence isn't absence, but invitation. One disappears. The abbot pauses by you, saying, "Words have weight, brother." So does silence. You don't sleep, but keep writing, the words burning inside you. Advent's bells toll slower, marking a new liturgical year. You're tired, bone deep, after years of fasts, vigils, and unchanging rhythms. The cantor's voice cracks, Brother Sylvanus limps, Brother Osric forgets psalms, novices vanish. Brother Thomas, now blind, chants by memory. Brother Jervis stops smiling. The abbot leans on his cane, coughing. You sit in the frost-covered cloister garden, counting stubborn leaves, wondering if you'll cling or fall. Brother Adelmo dies, his cough silencing months after he stopped eating. The bell tolls deeply. His pine coffin gets no marker beyond a name read once. Death is ever present, behind psalms, beside spoons. Monks buried their own, the simplicity stripping vanity. You kneel by a grave, whispering to Aldrich's erased name, "I remember." You write fragments openly now, in manuscript margins, garden sheds, your spoon's back. A reply appears in the choir stall. "We are still here." You trace it like a blessing. Life isn't glorious, but it breathes. You chant softer, eat bitter millet, leave fragments and psalters, showing up as faith. Smoke curls into the scriptorium, not from the kitchen, but the chapel. The bell rings twice, sharp. You run, finding smoke rising, Brother Felix splashing buckets, the abbot barking orders. You join the line, passing water over slick stones. The fire dies, leaving blackened icons and scorched wood. The abbot says, "The chapel will be repaired. We will continue." Brother Leontius, hand bandaged, stays silent. Whispers blame candles or rats. You wonder if it's tied to forbidden books. Fires were common. Parchment and beams ignited easily, some seen as divine cleansing. You scrub charred stone with Brother Jah, who says some things are too flammable for this place. The relic survives, it's silver blackened, but bone untouched. The abbot calls it God's sparing. You're unsure. The fire reveals old murals under whitewash, saints with scratched out eyes, a haloed figure with a scorched name. You dream of flames, melting psalters, letters falling like rain. Some monks say fire is God's voice when silence fails. The abbot grows severe, meals quieter, forbidden books gone. You keep a singed altar cloth, touching it when bells toll. Brother Felix hands you a charred page. Let the truth be light, even if it burns. You bury it under rosemary, a fire to remember. A sharp knock echoes. A cloaked man demands the abbot. He enters unbowed, meeting the abbot privately. Word spreads. An inspection, a quiet inquisition from a reforming church eyeing rich, strange monasteries. The visitor prays, eats, asks about work, Latin, and uncatalogued books. You lie, as do others, sensing truth is handled with gloves. The abbot fades, his voice thin. Brother Sylvanus is demoted to kitchen duty. Brother Jervis digs alone. Inspections historically rooted out heresy or excess. Some monasteries were disbanded. The visitor questions you. Do you believe everything you copy? You reply, I believe in the truth I find. He nods, so do I. A roster vanishes. The abbot announces reassignments. Brother Felix is sent away, saying, maybe you'll see the well filled again. Snow falls silently, softening the cloister. Bells muffle. Meals are quick, spoons scraping. You've survived years, fires, inspections, losses. The abbot's cough worsens. You feed Abel crumbs, an unspoken pact. A woman's lullaby drifts from the herb garden, maybe a nun's. You don't chase it, letting it linger. At year's end, you burn your first robe in the ritual fire, its weight gone. In the scriptorium, you write your story, Asterisk, a boy arrives. He learns. He forgets. He learns again. Asterisk, not for others, just to release it. Monastic debates question legacy. Some say dissolve into God. Others say traces matter. You write, carving your name gently. From the tower, the monastery looks fragile under snow. You chant for the cold, for yourself. Back in your cell, candle low, you've survived fasts, fires, silence. You've seen truth smothered, but also mice thrive, donkeys endure, and words carved in stalls. Holiness isn't perfection. Faith is showing up when your soul is stone. No glory, just candlelight, frost, and the conviction you mattered. Tomorrow, the bell will toll. You'll walk the cloister, chant, and carry that small, holy question, listening for a song no one admits they hear. Sleep well, monk. You've earned it.